the knowledge. Now the second question. Is it any Quranic verses or hadiths that tell you to spread your knowledge? Anybody knows? Boy. I'm sorry? What does it mean? Sebarkan walau satu ayat. Spread even one ayat. Okay? But I will tell you later. But after that, after you learn and then you reflect everything, you need to understand that knowledge is huge. Okay? When I was in Madura, I used to swim in the sea. I used to swim in the river. You know that. Okay? And then whatever it is. And then one day I learned one ayah like this. Okay? Okay? If all trees in the earth were pen, because Allah teach you by pen, right? Remember in Al-Alaq? So and then all the water in the sea become the ink, and add another 7 seas for as a ink. It will not enough to write down all Allah knowledge. So you need to understand that knowledge is huge. When I was just graduated and I earned my doctoral in information system, and I got a job as a visiting professor in Northern Kentucky University, you have to attend some college conferences, and you have to write papers. Okay, I attend conferences at that time. Oh, thank you. At that time, one of the presenters talked about something that I don't even know in my major, okay, in my concentration that I do not know. At that time, it was called, right now, it's called Internet of Things, meaning that thing that connected to each other. Okay, but back 20 years ago, nobody knows that. I don't understand it. So that bring me become more humble, that the knowledge that available for us is really huge. See, I'm not going to boast or whatever. Okay, my son earned medical biochemistry PhD 8 years ago. One day he was invited to make a presentation, and he asked me to watch his presentation, gladiresik. Okay, so Daddy, watch my presentation. Tell me something wrong for my presentation. Okay, I don't understand a thing. Biomedical, I don't understand a thing. Okay, so you can imagine there are other concentration knowledge out there that you even know anything about that. So meaning that knowledge is huge. My point is, you have to stay in your concentration, be good on it. Otherwise, you cannot compete. That's the message. Okay, so if you are good in education, be good in education. In what? Instructional education. In instructional education, in what area? Because instructional education is huge. When you say that education, what is education? And then you come to one branch of it, instructional education. Inside it, there will be huge. Okay, the same thing with computer. What is coding? But if you come there, huge. Scripting, coding, thing like that is never end. Okay, so knowledge is just unbelievable. So be happy that now this is the Sahih Muslim that said, okay, when man dies, there are only 3 things, right? Your charity, your good deed, and your knowledge that beneficial to others. So that's the reason. First, you have to learn, read, understand, reflect. You have to be able to implement, and spread. Okay? And then the second one, like Allah will tell you that if all the tree become pen, all water become ink, it will not enough to write down the knowledge of Allah. Knowledge is huge. Make sure you understand that be humble, be, just stay in your concentration. Because if you try to get all of them, you are not be able to compete to others. So be good in your concentration, and then finally you will get a job in your concentration. Usually, okay, because I'm sharing with you about academic, for example, like me, I am involved in so many, it's called recruiting committees, okay, to get a new faculty. I've been teaching for 20 years, and this is my 21st year. So I'm going to finish my 21 years or 21st year after this spring. So I've been involved. Usually, the committee will not look the general knowledge that you know, because all of them, all the applicant knows that, but they will try to find the niche of you that really needed in those department or in those college. See, for example, coding. Everybody knows coding. C++, you know that. Scripting, you know. But what really needed, for example, coding for mobile devices, okay, something like that. So something that niche that really that you really know about it. Okay, let's go to what academic career. Okay, I try to divide into 3 areas: preparation for academic profession, finding academic profession, and maintaining academic profession. Okay, the first one, of course, you have to prepare. Just like I told you, be good in your own concentration. Don't try to say that I know everything. Okay, if you say like that, you will reject you the first time. Okay, you have to say that I know this one, something that you really know that fit to what they need. If you know something but it's not fit to what they need, it will not work either, right? Okay, any question before I continue? Okay, so preparation for academic profession. Okay, of course, while you are in your graduate program, okay, so like what I start as a grader. You can start as a tutor. Okay. You can start as a teaching assistant, research assistant. Teaching assistant can be a grader too. Teaching assistant can be try to organize the teaching desk of the professor. Okay, so teaching assistant not only to teach in a class. So sometimes if you help professor to prepare for the teaching session, that's also considered teaching assistant. Okay, so you don't say that, oh, I don't know how to teach. How can I become a teaching assistant? No, teaching assistant is not only to teach. If you prepare, okay, put all the document that will be spread during the or hand out during the session, teaching session, that's teaching assistant. Okay, grader also become part of the teaching assistant. Research assistant. Okay, research assistant, you don't have, for example, you do survey, of course, you do calculation, of course, but to prepare document, to have some idea about how to conduct the research, also consider research assistant. Okay, there are huge job that can be a teaching assistant or can be a research assistant. But the first one that you can get or you can earn or you can be in the part of the teaching assistant or research assistant, first you need to show your your attention, right, to the research itself or to the teaching itself, number one. So you say that, oh, I like to be like, to show that to your professor, that you would like or you want to be involved in teaching or you want to be involved in research. Okay, so you show that. How you show it? Everybody has their own way to do it. And in Indonesia, maybe you try to carry the bag, right? In Indonesia, but not here. You maybe ask, what you are doing, sir? What you are doing, prof? What kind of research that you do? What kind of teaching? How can I help you? First, how can I help you? Okay. So that's the magic word. How can I help you? If you try to tell him something, he may get mad to you. So, okay, in another institution, you can be a jump. I was a jump too, in a small college in Kentucky at that time. So I was a jump. I don't have teaching experience, so therefore they don't. University of Kentucky did not give me the opportunity to teach in the class. So I went to a smaller college over there, and I become a young professor. It's good, okay? To become a young professor in a small college, it's like this. Usually only 10, 15, or the most 20 students. But in a big university, if you are teaching 101, 200 level courses, you may have around 100, 150 students. Sometimes you have 300. Okay? Who is a psychology major here? In psychology class, you will have 300 students. Sociology, psychology, music, you have 300. But I'm teaching basic knowledge of information system. I usually have 50 to 75 in one session. But coding, maybe only 25, just good. Or statistics, I'm teaching statistics too. Usually only 25 to 40 students. So those are, become the concentration is less student. Okay, any questions before I go to another topic? So one more question. Are you okay, Rina? Yes, sir.
So there's in university there's besides just teaching and research assistants, there's also like a graduate assistant. Means that you work helping the campus in terms of the administration.
Sure.
So how like this kind of position also maybe can support it to the academic goals.
Yeah. See, there are so many ways, but because I'm concentrating in my academic career, so I only talk about teaching assistant and research assistant. Well, of course, you can be a student worker as well. You can work anywhere. Okay, as a helper for the secretary, as a helper for the chair or whatever. That's good too. Usually, those students who are very diligent, who will be able to, because sometimes you don't do anything, you just sit down there. Okay, as a helper for the chair or the helper for the assistant or the secretary of the department, you don't do anything. Sometimes it's very boring job, but if you can stay there, eventually you will if you like to work in academic, you will find some professor who eventually like to work with you. Okay? So that's what I start. So I try to find one professor who like to work with me. Okay? So I become a jump, and I try to be able to teach. Okay, I'm from, like I told you before, I'm from Madura. I don't study English until I'm maybe 31, 32 years old. Not like you guys. You were born and then you learn English right away. Okay, so after you graduate, try to get either postmaster, postdoctorate, teaching associate, and research associate. Now you can see the difference, right? Over here is called teaching assistant, research assistant. When you become a graduate, at least you have a master, you become teaching associate. Because you help the professor to prepare for the teaching session of the professor, or sometimes the professor will ask you to teach the class. That's called the teaching associate. Okay? The same thing with research associate. The professor will ask you to help him or her in her or his research. Okay? So there are very little or very not too much different between teaching assistant and teaching associate, but usually when you become a teaching associate, you start to teach. They allow you to teach, usually, because at least you have a master, at least. And you done with your coursework in your PhD program, for example. So you can teach. Okay, so this is, yes, yes ma'am.
Sorry.
Yes, okay.
I have questions about teaching assistant or research assistant.
Yes.
What are the benefits or advantages that you will get if you're in this position? I mean, if you become a teaching assistant or research assistant, what are the benefits or advantages that you get from the institution other than, for example, tuition waiver or monthly fee? Or is it worth it? Is it worth the job and everything?
I'm talking this beyond your financial need, okay? Yeah. I'm sorry. Got to.
Relax,
Relax, okay.
Lain lagi mengambil.
No, it's got to. See, this is beyond your financial need. Your financial is already there. You already get a scholarship. You done with that. What you need is a letter of recommendation. If you don't work with them, how can they give you or how can they write a letter of recommendation? If you are going to go forward in academia, you have to have a letter of recommendation that I'm going to tell you later, but you already asked, which is good. So that's the most important thing that you need when you become a teaching assistant, teaching research assistant, or teaching associate and research associate, because you become close to the professor. Okay? Even if you are 4.0, you finish your PhD in 3.5 years, no letter of recommendation, no job. Over here, letter of recommendation is very important. And at least you need 3 letters of recommendation. Therefore, I urge you to go to teach from outside. So meaning that you will get letter, not right now, later, when you need it, a letter of recommendation from another institution, also from your own institution, okay, from your professor or from others. So at least they will ask you 3. That's good, meaning that you have a wide variety of experience and teaching experience or research experience that not only in your graduate but also in another institution. Okay, they remember at least 3. I will explain to you later. Okay. Another one that you need to be involved is in the project and conference presentation. Okay, so that's the major thing. So if you deal or you get along with your professor, and then you have your own idea, and then you can do your own presentation. Usually they will pay for it. If you have 1 or 2, that's good enough. During your graduate career, you have only 2 or 3 presentations, that's good enough. But try not in one conference. Try to do at least 2 conferences, 3 conferences. So it will look good for you. And try, like I told you, try only in your concentration. Don't try, for example, he is in education and then he make a presentation in computer science. There is no point. Of course, you are good. You know everything, but you need to stay in your concentration, in your major, in your what you like to do. Not, of course, you know, and all Indonesians know everything, right? You can replace a tire, you can replace you can open the hood, whatever. All Indonesian can do it. You can swim, you can play badminton, you can do everything, but you cannot just show everything. You need to stay in your concentration. Okay, so when you do the project and conference presentation, usually you will get more financial aid. My point is, when you do that, you will be able to get your own financial aid. Usually you will get from your department, the first one. Okay, they will give you 1,000 to go presentation somewhere, but you can write it down. Hey, I get a financial aid from my department, from my college, from my university, and of course you can get it from outside of your university. So you need to show this, that you have a project, you have a conference, you have financial aid for your presentation and also for your project or for your research. Any question? Okay. Okay. Now, this is the second topic, how to find academic profession. Right now, you can have it online. You can have my PowerPoint presentation to get this web URL, okay? This website address. You can get. Long time ago, 20 years ago, this is the only one. Chronicle of Higher Education. And it comes like a newspaper, that thick. You have to flip it to find your major. How many opening in your major? But now you can just faculty information system right away into your concentration. Education, instructional education, computer science, scripting, you can find right away. Not back then. Back 20 years ago, I have to flip like that. And it's come every week. You can do it every day, no, every second. No problem. But at that time, you have to go to library, number one, because who's going to subscribe for Chronicle of Higher Education? Only library. That's the only place that you can have, or you can learn, or you can read it. Do you think you are going to subscribe the Chronicle of Education that thick, and you don't need it? But right now, you can just go anywhere, go to any time, and then you can find information. If you click this, I'm not sure if there is a internet connection. I don't think so. But you can read it now. There are thousands and thousands of faculty opening now. Okay? And so many different major and concentration. So job opening is that. But how to get it, that's another story. Okay, that everybody knows how to do that, so you can do it later. Now the problem is selecting university. Okay. This is not very difficult, but it's very important. Just like I told you, stay in your concentration. Okay. For example, like this: if you are in education, stay in education. If you are in engineering, stay in engineering. If you are in economics, stay in economics. That's number one. Number two, okay, you have. I'm not sure if I know how to say it in English, but tahu diri lah. How you say that? Huh? Huh? Be conscious of yourself. Okay, tahu diri. For example, like this. If you are in Harvard now, of course you can apply to anywhere. But if you are, for example, in Michigan, in Kentucky, in what you call, Pittsburgh or whatever, those level of university, tahu diri, don't try to apply to Harvard, or try to Princeton, or try to apply to Brown University. So you know what your level. So at least you will apply to similar university or below your university. You understand what I mean? Except if you really have a very specific research that maybe those university would like to hire you because you have a specific or special and futuristic research. Otherwise, tahu diri. Okay? That's what I did. Maybe you don't, but it's okay. You can do whatever you want. But what I said, be tahu diri. Okay? See, and then how you rank those? Of course, you can rank those university like what I said. Ivy, call it Ivy League, second tier of university, third tier university, thing like that. How you break it down, okay? So rank university, of course, you can based on the research opportunities for those universities in general. For example, any kind of, see for example, why Harvard University is there? Because they have at least $36 billion endowment money. Okay, I'm not talking about riba. This is not my expertise. Okay, even Harvard University just take the interest from $36 billion. He can run the university without tuition. He can pay everything with just the interest. 5% of it, they can pay everything. But look how much endowment in your university. For example, Pittsburgh University. How much? Maybe only $100 million. Or maybe they don't have it. So you can compare. 36 billion. Billion is big. It's not M. It's big, not M. Okay? That's a completely different financial capability to support your research. Of course, in general, and of course, in your concentration. You can compare them. Oh, see, for example, in my area, information system, number 1 is Minnesota, number 2 is Arizona, number 3, all of us, like that. Okay, so concentration is different with general. And then, of course, you can rank them based on work environment. I can tell you later, but I can show you all of them. Okay, what does it mean by work environment? Okay, work environment meaning that will cover everything. Okay, like the number of student body. Okay, it's a big difference between college with 1,500 students with 35,000 students. That's completely different. Yeah, community sport. Do you have community there that you can live with? That's also become a rank for your future job. Okay? Location, school system, crime rate. This is the one that, these two things that really was my first, criteria when I select my job, my current job. Location, school system, and crime rate. I'll tell you why. Because I'm not like you. I came here when I already 35 years old. I have 2 kids. And when I finished my doctorate, I already have 3 kids. And all of them in 3 different level of school. Elementary school, middle school, and high school. So I have to find a school, a place where the school system is good. Otherwise, I'm not going to go. The crime rate is low. So, school system good, crime rate is low, and location where I can go anywhere nicely. For example, right now, this is based on me, okay? I'm living in Indiana, which is only 1 hour to Pittsburgh, only 3 hours to DC, only 8 hours to, 4 hours to Niagara Falls. So basically in the middle. Thus, I like it. Why? Because school system was very good. Okay? How you find it? In high school, there will be I don't really know the terminology. Usually, it's called university president. Okay, if in your school system have a university student, okay, meaning that those students with at least 3.8 to 4 point something GPA, meaning that they are at least good. that they will be in the eye of president, because president will give them certification. Okay, so so I look down for location, system, and unionize. This is very important. Okay, for me, not for you, because you are younger. For me, it's very important. Unionize. What does it mean? Meaning that the employees will stay in one union. Okay. What does it mean? Basically, it's very low competition among faculty, because you are same. We are union, just like in a Communist Party. Okay, we are the same. That's good for me because I don't think I can compete with them without union. You understand that? If you work in a institution or a university with not unionized, you are in the mercy of your chair or your dean. If you make mistake, whatever is called mistake, whatever you don't like it, you will not get tenure. Period. But if you are in unionized institution, your friend will help you. Your other faculty will help you. So at that time, I choose it because I don't think I can compete. I'm not saying that I'm afraid, no, but I'm more rational. You know, I'm trying to use my logic that, hey, unionize, meaning that you can work there and then other faculty will help you to get your tenure. Okay? And then salary and benefit. This is of course very important, right? Salary. Do you think it's important, Mas? Yeah, of course, very important, right? It's very important. Okay. So usually for faculty, the salary is based on 9 months. Okay, my salary is 9 months, but you can spread your salary for only 9 months, or you can spread it into 12 months. But based on 9 months, meaning what? I'm sorry. If you are teaching summer courses, you are teaching, they call it overload, you get more money. Okay, how much I make? As later, okay, but it's enough, more than enough. Okay, so faculty salary is more than enough, at least for us, for Indonesian or for it's more than enough. So during for 9 months, meaning that you are teaching only from you don't teach basically during summer for 3.5 months. So therefore, it's based on 9 months. And then if you have overload course for, I usually, they will send me to teach outside, to another country. I usually teach in India and also teach in Palestine. I will get overload money for that. Okay, for one teaching session, for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, thing like that. I will get another, extra money. I call it extra money. But so that's, and then when you talk about benefit, 5 more minutes, okay. Make sure that your university will give you pension benefit. Usually they will take 5% from your salary, and then they add between 9 to 10% from their money. So you can see here that basically your salary is, let's say your salary 100%, right? Deducted by 5%, but you get 10%. So basically, faculty salary is 110%. You understand that? Basically, it's 110%. And then for health, usually it costs about 10% of your salary, because let's see, one family is about $2,500 now for 1 month. Okay, $2,500. So times 12, how much? That's $30,000. So basically, it's another 10% of your salary. So make sure that your salary plus benefit counted 120% altogether. Okay? 3 more minutes. Now, how to apply? Usually, like I told you, cover letter, teaching, and research purpose, you have to write down that. Say, okay, you know this, right? This is the most important. If you don't have this, you will not get it. Okay, so the letter of recommendation is very important, and phone and face-to-face interview. That's normal. But these 3 letters of recommendation, it does not have to come from your faculty, from department or whatever, but can come from if you teach as a adjunct or if you work outside, you get it from another organization. Okay? So, maintaining academic profession, usually this is for tenure faculty. Make sure that when you apply, there are 2 things, tenure and untenured faculty career. Untenured meaning that you never get tenure. What does it mean? Meaning that your contract will be renewed every year or even every semester. But as a tenure faculty, you will have usually for whatever. Okay? But usually they will have a 5 years evaluation. Okay? So you have 3-4 years to prepare for tenure faculty qualification. But if you apply as an instructor, you will stay as an instructor. If you apply as a non-tenure faculty member, you will stay as a non-tenure faculty member. Okay? So usually to get qualification is based on teaching, research, and service evaluation. Okay, research and teaching I already explained to you a lot, but service evaluation, make sure that you involved in your department committee, your college committee, and also for university committees. Why do you have to attend or be involved in those kind of committees? Because if you are a probation, meaning that you don't get the tenure, and you are going to apply for your tenure position, for your tenure qualification, those committee unofficially will support you. You understand what I mean? You never know that you in your committee, you are in the same committee with vice president. You never know that in your committee you are sitting down with the secretary of president or with secretary of dean. You never know when you apply. But if you are in those committee and then you know those people, usually they will help you to get your tenure. Okay, just like in Indonesia, but over here is more official. This is the same thing for the tenure. Usually every year you will be evaluated based on the same thing: teaching, research, growth, and services. If you don't, match or get those qualifications, you will get the interim evaluation. And usually, as a faculty member, you will get sabbatical eligibility. I took my sabbatical and I taught in American University of Sharjah in Dubai for 1 year. So, sabbatical meaning that you can stay away from your job, but you get salary, full salary. What else you want? So you can stay with, you can teach anywhere, but you get full salary, and then you can get another salary over there. So I'm not saying that faculty position, faculty job is the best in the world, but there are some benefits from that. There are some good and bad for every profession. Okay, I'm going to stop here because he already stared on me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wibowo, for teaching us how to get into academia if you're interested in pursuing that profession. Our next speaker for today will be Dr. Arif Budiman. I will introduce him and talk to you guys a little bit about his biography. So Dr. Budiman is a senior scientist at Orion Genomics, a biotechnology company in St. Louis, Missouri. He has over 20 years of experience in the field of genome technology. He leads the research team using innovation in DNA technologies to sequence agricultural and industrial plants, including palm oil. Dr. Budiman received training as a postdoctoral fellow at Clemson University in Clemson, South Carolina. And he completed his undergraduate degree in botany as well as his doctoral degree in biotechnology and plant physiology with conducting research in genomics at Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. He is a longtime IMSA member and one of the IMSA co-founders back in December 1998. He was the second IMSA president from 2001 to 2002. He attended Muktamar since 1990, which was still titled Muktamar MISG, and he was a foremost serial member of MISG. So without further ado, here is Dr. Arif Budiman.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. I'll try to be short, inshallah. Okay. I think I'm okay, inshallah. So the reason why I joined industry because I thought there will be a lot of impact, and Allah says in the Quran, "Rabbana ma khalaqta hadha batila." I didn't create for nothing. Basically. Everything is created not for nothing. So there's a purpose here. And Allah said in the Quran, "Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard wa ikhtilafil laili wan nahari la'ayatin lil albab." In the creation of the earth and the heaven and the changing of day into night, there are signs for those who really think and ponder what's in it. So I try to be into science because I love it, and there is reason for it that we're not created for nothing. So this is my path. Okay. So I grew up 19 years in Jogja High School and then got scholarship from Habibie, former president, former minister of R&D. I studied in 1990 at Texas A&M in botany, biotechnology. That's my interest because in that time in the early 90s, everything is about tissue culture, GMO, genomic. You didn't have the freedom, so I decided to be on my own. Like Kustim said, I took a TA one semester, I taught for 1 semester, and then the rest is RA from professor, for my professor. And then I did the PhD, I finished in 1999, plant physiology and plant biotechnology. Now it opened up my goal. I want to learn, because when you do GMO, back then I questioned how to find the gene if you want to look into the plant, how to make better plants. So I learned how to. And this is the next era, is the gene finding, how to find the gene that can help you to create the better plants. So back then, it's only you try to find a single gene. So that's why my kind of project is mapping the gene, trying to find one gene, how can you use the gene, that's the next step. Then, in the 99,000, around in end of 1990 to around early 2000, that's the era of genomes. Government of US spent 3.8 billion to sequence human genome projects for 10 years. But for every single dollar, the ROI is about 141. So they spent 3.8, it comes back 746 billion US dollar. That's after the project. The pharmaceutical industry, the medicines, everything. So every $1 comes back 141. So that's my era, and then that's the era, and then in 2000 I started working as a staff scientist at Orion Genomics in St. Louis. Started almost 19 years there. That's where I got involved into reference genome project, how to really map like a Google map. When you make a Google map, you know where to find the oil, where to find the gold. I want to find the gene, but in a large scale. So that's the new era for me. So I did. Got involved in the research of reference genome construction. So we did research for New Zealand on clover, rye leaf, pakan ternak, ya. And then I got involved in oil palm for American government almost 15 years. Oh, speak up? Okay, I think I'm good. That's good. Yes. So and then I want to really know how to isolate the gene. When you get the gene, what can you use? What can you do for it? How can you use it? So that's the next step actually. And when you work in the industry, it's a time driven, pressure driven, and you need to bring something into the market, because when you have a patent, the patent has a lifetime, 15 years. When you write a patent, basically you disclose to others that you are working on something that nobody else can work on it, but they can go around it, but they cannot publish it, they cannot copy it. So when you work on your patent 15 years, so it means you have 15 years to come up with something that at that time, if you come up with a technology that is very cheap, cost effective, that can help people, you release into the market, you're the only one that can kind of monopolize your Pak. You're the only one that can produce and mass market the product. Nobody else can work on it. The problem in the industry, if you have 15-year patent, you start releasing on the year 13. Okay? So how many years you have market only? You dominate the market for 2 years. So during 15 years here, everybody start thinking how to get around it, how to beat that patent. So you have 2 years only to capitalize, to get the market. That's difficult, that's not easy. So the sooner the better you come up into the market, the better you can dominate in the industry. So that's kind of what happened in the industry. Okay, saya. Oh, Ilham, yeah. So this is kind of what I see as academic training. Getting a master degree or PhD is your training to be a scientist. They provide you the training to reach your goal, but it's not the final destination unless you want to stay in the academia, because the research on campus is a lot more freedom. A lot more freedom. You can do, you can discover new theories, but you advance it for the sake of science, for the sake of knowledge. I can go to that route too, because my advisor told me you can continue this project and you can go apply as a professor. But there is other thing that I would like to get into the industry so that I can have impact on the world. And there is, inshallah, I will talk about it. And because in the industry, the research is a lot more, how can you apply to create product or service? So basically, you observe the problem that are happening in front of you, and how can you answer the problem and help the oh yeah, the next one. Okay. So basically, research in industry is directed by demand and opportunity. So it will drive your goal, drive the goals of the company. But this is where you can align your goal toward the goal of the company. If you can align it, then you can learn new stuff. In the academia, you learn how to think, you learn how to be a good scientist, how to be a good engineer. But in the industry, it's you really apply that you can really use it and think out of the box. And then however, in the industry, it's teamwork. You don't work on yourself. You like on a big ship, and you just part of one of the driver there. So there are R&D department, there are QC department, there are production department, and so on. But the key thing is the timeline. The pressure is high. It's also volatile environment. If you cannot keep up, then it's not good for you, of course. But so long you can align your goal, and you can fulfill or meet the criteria that the company decided for you. You try to stick on it and try to deliver the performance, then you're okay. But it's not that. Same thing like Pak Pustim, yeah. Pak Pustim, you have evaluation for 1 year. In industry, we have also 1 year, but sometimes we can get shorter evaluation, 6 months, 3 months, because the company is not just we got big money for research, okay? But the money is not free. We have a board, we have a shareholder, they invest the money in it, and you are the one that can produce something, hopefully in return with a big, you get a big ROI, return of investment. But the thing that I like working in the company where I work at now, because it's not only that I can have impact. So you can fulfill your desire to work in anything else. But I recommend that you work on something that you have passion in it, but also you can have impact. You have a big impact for others, because Rasulullah told us that the best among you are those that benefit others, or others can benefit from you, like the three that we described at IMSA. Next one. So for example here, this is at the market of the breast cancer, ovarian, cervical screening test in the US, for example. The available market in the US is 5 million women per year. Imagine at the 10% penetration market, but about 500,000 tests. If per test is $500, this is how much you can get. So this kind of what happened in the industry. It's a big industry, especially for those countries that have a higher standard. But I think Indonesia is catching up now. So the next one, next slide, please. Okay, this is kind of what we do. How we can find a marker for a cancer. We're trying to differentiate between breast, lung, and ovarian, normal and tumor. Those are the different genes that we can identify. But the next question is, how once you find a good gene that can differentiate normal and tumor patient accurately, how can you bring it into the market? And you don't have that much time. So this is what we work on it as well. But it's not easy to bring to the market. The next one. The next one, I'm gonna skip. In a company, you work in a large-scale project and concerted effort. So you have to be able to be multitasking. You conduct research, but at the same time you manage the project, you manage your teammates, especially if you have a high degree, you will manage a team, you have like 5, sometimes 2, sometimes 10. You have to be able to manage your team to deliver what is required from your team. And then you have the opportunity to work on multiple or different projects at one time. So it helps you stimulate your need to have an adventure on different projects. And you have this is the typical organization structure of a companies. You work, the manager will work on SOP development, helping others develop a say, and then, but the one thing that I learned, I'm a bench scientist, I work in the lab, but after we got involved with Indonesia, we work on oil palm for 15 years, and then we trying to market our technology in Indonesia. That's when my life is different. So I travel about 5 times a year to Indonesia. So since 2012 up to now, I've traveled about 5 times a year. So about 3 weeks, 1 month. So leaving my family here. So it's like living in Jakarta, Pak. Going to work at 5 a.m. in the morning, coming home at 9. That's like my life compressed in 5 times a year, 3 weeks or 1 month. But alhamdulillah, I'll protect my family. So, and then in industry, you are fully able to grow and expand your reach and potential. The next slide. So it's result driven. So you work in a chain reaction. So sometimes there's a bottleneck. That one person is, because in order to get C, you have to finish an A. You have to finish the B. You have to finish the C stage. Sometimes you have a bottleneck at A. Now sometimes in my part, I do the number 1A, and sometimes I had hard time. I couldn't meet the goal. So you have to really, at that time, I feel really small. We are nothing. And everything can happen by the will of Allah. Even during my PhD research, basically, you do research, I would say 99% flunk. 1% that make it into dissertation. Ya Pak Muslim ya. And that's why, as a Muslim, alhamdulillah, that as a Muslim, we are very calm. People call me in the lab, Arif, you are mellow. Meaning we are basically, alhamdulillah, because we are optimistic, you know. I work with the DNA, I extract DNA, I work with the enzyme, I cut, ligate or paste and put it into the bacteria, put it into the something, for example. I don't have any means to know that it's going to work. So I make dua to Allah. That Allah, inshallah, Bismillah, may Allah help me and make it easy for me. We have that quality that are very rare in this country. We are calm because we have optimistic. Everything is written in Lawful Mahfuz. So that's why we have, you know, whatever hardship you have, you are really consistent, perseverance, and trying to aim the target. That's what I love about being Muslim, and I hope, inshallah, we all be like that. So there is sometimes you will see the bottleneck in the industry. This is going to affect your performance. And as I said before, it's high pressure, volatile environment. Those require those that are goal oriented. but it's rewarding. It's rewarding. A different reward from Pak Muslim. Pak Muslim, maybe Pak Muslim in the campus, when Pak Muslim working in the university, the compensation is different. Pak Muslim children can get free school, right? Pak Muslim?
There
So
you
that's
go.
not can be counted as, you know, sometimes in the industry you got more, but we don't have that kind of privilege. Okay? So when you work in the university, your kids is kind of guaranteed, okay? But in the industry, of course, the reward is higher. But of course, so it's always, you can weigh, balance, inshallah, Pak, yeah? Okay, the next one, please. So performance is evaluated. First of all, is the business acumen. You have to know your organization structure. You have to know the goal of the company. How can you align with the company? And you have to be able to plan, procrastinating stuff and others. And then the next, also that's business acumen. So you have to be able to be to do problem solving, technical and functional expertise. You have to keep building your expertise. No, I keep reading journal article from different parts of the world. Try to keep up what's happening in my field, because we want to be on the cutting edge, not on the right at the edge. Okay, Pak?
Right.
And the right edge gonna fall, but you want to be at the cutting edge, research and development. And then, because company's best interest is to ensure that its employees are performing to their best ability, and also they enjoy what they do. Now, what you learn in academia is good. You have to develop from it, and you apply it in the industry so that you can really build and develop even better. So it's good for PhD to climb your career. Now, in the industry, typically, when you have an undergrad degree, like in my field, in the biology, biotechnology industry, undergrad is like research associate or technician, basically. If you are manager, you are master is like manager. But when you are PhD, you are like scientist, and you can manage project. You can design project. So it's a lot more. You can direct people. You can you keep learning, because we have to keep learning actually to expand. And the next one, please. This is my story, GMO. So how Monsanto, for example, they know the enemy of the corn. There's an enemy of the corn. So they put that, because the larva creates a protein. The larva is the enemy of the corn. There is a bacteria that is the enemy of the corn, because it creates protein. So they take the gene from the bacteria and put it into the corn. So the corn, when it's eaten by insect, the insect will die. Okay? So this is how the technology in the early 90s, and Monsanto has big revenue from this one. The next one, this is GMO. For example, there is cows with the human-like milk. Imagine they take the gene from the human and put it in the cow. Okay, but we, as a Muslim, we have to be able to differentiate which one that is ethical and unethical. For example, pest-resistant corn and so on. Next one. This is genomics. This is my field. Next one. So genomics is the study of all the genes in the genome, including their interaction with environmental factors. Next one. See, this is when I was talking about that I'm trying to find one gene. It took me several years. Didn't get it, okay? Get close to the gene, just one gene. Next one. Because I work on one gene. This is jointless. When you pick apple, when you pick tomato, there is always a stem in it, correct? There is a mutation. Allah get a mutation there is no joint. So when I harvest tomato, it's just clean, correct? In the mechanical harvesting, when you harvest 100,000 of tomatoes, you will have a stem attached to it, okay? What happens if tomato with a stem? It rupture the other tomatoes, correct? It will lead to fungal infection, and then you lost the rotten and everything, okay? But there is a mutation of tomato in the wild food that there is no joint. So when you harvest, you just get that clean one. So there is no labor involved. I'm trying to find that gene. Why it's different? You have to create the process and everything. It takes so long. Just one gene. Okay. The next one. This is the oil palm industry. Next one. This is where the era in the late 2000s. Genomics. Even now Indonesia is still new actually. This is the next one. It's gonna be there for so long. You trying to find all the genes in the oil palm, in the 16 spread across 16 chromosomes, and there are about 34,000 genes. one gene control for the oil, one gene control for the disease resistant, one gene control for other things, for example, sweetness, color, okay, and then low fat and so on. The next one. So we worked on this particular gene with the Malaysian palm oil board for 15 years. So this is Dura. See this one? This is the changkang, thick seed coat. This is the oil. This is palm kernel oil. The yellow is where the oil, minyak goreng, coming from here. There are two types: shellus, shell. Okay. This one typically
No cell.
no shell, but it will usually not many fruit in the tree. It will get rotten, so you can see it as zero oil. This one has 70% oil from this one. CPO, crude palm oil, coming from here. Palm kernel oil for cosmetic come from here, from the middle one, the white one. Like coconut, this is like coconut. Except coconut is
Bigger.
this is small. Oil palm is like this, but this is the CPO, this is the PKO. Now, in the 1700 up to 1960, 1940, people planted this one in the field. In fact, Indonesia and Malaysia is the only two countries in the world that conquer about dominate 85% of the world edible oil. This is a blessing from Allah. It came from Africa, brought in by the Dutch to Indonesia, and the mother plant is in Kebun Raya Bogor. That's everything derived from that. Now, in the 1940, they accidentally crossed between this as a father, this as a mother, give rise to this. It's called Tenera. This is Piscifera, Dura, and Tenera. This is SS, capital S, small s, capital and small. See what happened? The thickness becomes thinner, correct? It causes the thickening of the yellow one. This is called
Meat.
not the meat. Mesocarp. So the oil become from 70% grows to 100%. Okay. Now, if I planted 100% that one, I gain only 70% oil. If I planted about 100% in the field like this one, so there is margin 30%, correct? 30% margin if I planted 100% of that. Now we wanted to find that gene. The next slide. Next slide. Keep going. Keep going. Okay. 100% oil, 70% oil, 0% oil. Next slide. Keep going. Keep going. I'll go through. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Okay. Okay. For example, in a hectare, there are about 136 trees, oil palm trees in a hectare. The productivity is about 4 metric ton of CPO per hectare. The price say is $750 per ton. Right now it's like 450 or 500. The productivity on the productive life is 27 years. Imagine 27 years. You plant one, you harvest for 27 years. Imagine soybean oil, you plant one, you harvest in the 2 months, 3 months, you keep planting every year, cut by the winter season, but not for palm oil. The productivity of palm oil is about 10-fold of soybean oil. Okay, 5 minutes, I got 5 minutes. So if you plant Tenera, its whole lifetime from one tree, you gain $738 US dollar. If you plant Dura, you gain 516. If you plant Passifera, you get 0. For 27 years, you stuck. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. So if I can identify this one, I replace with that one, this is how much gain I have. Correct? Yeah. Next slide. Look, the lifetime cost of planting one seed. In 1 hectare, you have 136 seeds. The cost of growing one tree in a hectare is about $202. The cost of seed is only how many? 60 cents. You harvest one, you plant one, it will bear fruit in the year 3 and keep producing until 30 years. Imagine that. So how important is the seed? And what is the next cost? Is fertilizer. It's about $90 for 27 years. Next slide, please. Now, the goal of the company for us with the oil palm, how can I identify this one type? It's like a pregnant mother. You will have a baby boy, a baby girl. You don't know until you deliver the baby boy or baby girl. We can do it now. We can do the same thing on oil palm seed or seedling. This is seed, that's seedling. They want about 1 year old. They bear fruit after year 3, year 4. If I can identify at young age, before I plant in the field, I can help the farmer so that only the good oil palms that are planted that will be productive for the next 30 years. Imagine in Indonesia how many, in Malaysia about 10%, the bad seeds. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide, next slide. Then we found the gene, next slide. Keep going. Keep going. So we find the gene. Keep going. There is only, subhanallah, only one mutation. You have dura, thick, thin, 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 thin. Actually, no cellus. Only one single mutation. The location only one. This is how small we are in our DNA. Only one that. Consider if there is mutation K become N or L become B, it become like this. There are 5 types in it. Now we found about 9 or so. Next slide. We published about 4 nature paper. Nature paper is like the dream. Okay? Even though I'm not the first author, okay? But it's like people, all scientists in the whole world, they want to be in nature, in science. Next one. Now, how can we benefit? How can we bring this discovery into technology that can help the farmers? So this is what we do. We're trying to develop. How can we do? How can we come up with a technology, a cheaper, cost-effective technology that we can impact, that we can identify the type of seed or seedling we have, whether it's going to grow into dura, it's going to grow into tanera or piscifera. Next slide. So now we know if I'm given like a small piece of leaf or small piece of meat from the seed, I test it. I know it's going to be dura. If it's blue, it's going to be red. Piscifera. If it's red, it's going to be purple. Tanera. This is the cost-effective one. So I can identify it at the moment. Next slide. Keep going. Keep going. So we develop. Now this is how the industry works. We work with different teams that can build the robot. That can build with how can we track millions sample, thousands sample. Next slide. Next slide. DNA extraction and the DNA analysis. Next slide. Keep going. Keep going. So the customer can, okay. The customer, we just send this one to the customer. The customer will sample in the field and they send to us, and we know the purity. How many percentage of the dura, how many percentage of tanera, how many percentage of piscifera. We know exactly, and then we can tell you this is going to be better, because if the farmer is given the right seed, they have a peace of mind. If I can fertilize, I spend $1 million to fertilize my field, and I know I'm going to get good fruit. Imagine if, and now in Indonesia, well, no, I'm sorry, not in Indonesia, but kejahatan paling tua itu kan oplos ya Pak ya. Kita beli bensin 1 liter menjadi berapa? 0,9 liter. Kita beli, ya kan? Itu kejahatan zaman Nabi Isa paling tua itu kan. Beli beras 1 kilogram diberikan 0,9 kilogram. Beli biji sawit yang harusnya gonna be like 100% good, but now we have only like 50%, 60%. Okay, I can skip the next slide. Next slide. This is the. Go ahead. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Until the end. I just want to be quick. The impact. Okay. Okay. This is the impact in Indonesia that we counted. Okay. In Indonesia right now, there are 447 million hectares of oil palm for smallholder. Can I have like 2 minutes? Okay. Now, there are about every year you plant about 22 million palm oil. The contamination rate is 11%. I took the Malaysia. We did contamination mapping in Malaysia, about 11 million. If I plug that number among the 4.74 million hectare of oil palm smallholder in Indonesia, petani kecil, swadaya, how much loss the industry? That's about 1.1 billion US dollar loss. If I plug this number, 11%. How much the GNI you expect to get? About 1.94 billion US dollar. How much the tax the Indonesian government could get? That's about 487 million US dollar every year. The price of the test is not that expensive, it's very cheap. Because the thing is, and we have to understand, the test is a technology that is cost effective. But if the patient is given this test, for example, if patient is sick, you try to pay everything, correct? Because you want to get healthy. But the problem is we deal with the seed, which is nothing. Remember, only 60 cents. So we have to come up with a technology that is cheap, but also, we need some help from the government to really make people understand that because of the small amount, it's not guaranteed that it won't guarantee that you'll have a good thing later. So you have to really help the smallholders. Okay, so this is the impact that we can have right now. But I'm not going to tell you how much we have in Indonesia. We have the data, but we cannot share. So this is the impact, and then that's why in the industry, I learn new stuff. Now I learn as a business developer, so I work in Indonesia, deal with the ministry level, sometimes S1, S1, 2. But it's a lot more complicated when you work in the human side of. When I work in the lab, I feel I have a peace of mind. I know my problem. I know what to do. I know how to get answer. Okay, I have a peace of mind. But when you deal outside of your, your comfort zone, but it's a challenge. But inshallah, I hope that someday, I have hope that inshallah, what we do can impact. So this is why I like working in the company, because not only that I learn a lot, but also there is impact there. The big impact that you can do is out there. Okay. Okay. The next one. Next one. Next one. Next one. Okay. So we visited by Pak Susono, Minister of Ag, and then Pak Vice of MOA, and then staffnya SBY. Kita bolak-balik about 35 times. We did smallholder mapping, contamination mapping in Malaysia, but we invited by Pak Bayu Krishnamurti, former Vice Minister of Trade and Minister of Ag. But still, Alhamdulillah, there is a hikmah behind it. I could see my mom every other month. I didn't go home for my undergrad for 4 years. I didn't go home for my PhD 5 years. And then I got married. I didn't go for 9 years. Alhamdulillah, 2012, Allah let me go to see my mom every other month. That's the blessing that Allah gives to me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arif Budiman, for your insight in the genomic industry as well as your pathway in your current research. So this concludes the ISO session. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I believe we're going to take a quick break before the thesis competition. But until then, I think that's next after that. But I look forward to hearing the presentations. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we have an announcement. We will pick 3 winners for the door prize for those who have registered. Alright, Tata Coco is gonna pick a number. Aria is gonna pick a number for the door prize. Yeah. What number do you have? Okay, number 8, Mariam Kumero. If you're in the room, please collect your prize from Tante Kaka. Mariam. Congratulations. Okay. All right, the next winner for our door prize is Alright, the next winner is Lily Nur Indasari. Lily, okay. Kasih ke temannya, okay, ya. Congratulations. Alright, we still have another prize to give away.
Gak perlu kan, berarti ente bisa beli kan? Bisa kan?
The next winner is Muhammad Arif Budiman. Oh, Budiman got a prize! Congratulations!
Selfie stick.
Congratulations. And those are all the prizes for right now. And there will be more later. So congratulations to all the prize winners. We also have an Amazon Kindle up for raffle, so, and a Bluetooth speaker. Yeah, so keep in tune.
Kalau mau yang minum ada botol-botol di belakang.
Kalau di mana di Iya, saya Julia. Tapi gapnya jauh, gap S2 S3 aja. Iya, nanti. Dari lulus S2, bahkan belum lulus S2. Bisa satu program S2 S3. Tapi kita masanya dapat. Udah. Ini panggilnya saya sama Mas. Oh. Meramaikan. Tiga orang biasanya. Dia non Kristen juga. Yang presentasi Chicago itu kan yang bagus itu sama University of Chicago juga. Ada juga sih yang lain di Illinois State ya. Mana kan jadi dulu dosen-dosen itu oh gitu kan, ikut semua aja gitu kan. Ya bagus. Oh ada bagus. Kita 2 tahun terakhir. Enggak, sekarang mereka dari ini. Jadi saya ada di Macorning dekat University of Chicago itu di South Chicago. I'm better in biology. Oh,
Semuanya bawa jam drive nggak?
Morse code. Jalanannya tuh kayak udah kayak freezer kan lama nggak dicuci gitu. Ini
Iya.
Kita pesan itu aja.
Yang udah jadul itu.
Soalnya malah di luar
Password teh.
Irham. Pas udah ke 123.
Pakai U enggak?
Iya pakai ini 123. Ada yang enggak uppercase ya.
Oh, uppercase.
Ada K-nya.
Kalau pertama.
Iya.
namanya tuh easy to remember but sama lupa. Pokoknya saingannya Shake Shack. Bule pun makan di situ. Iya, Epic Burger. Biasanya kan kalau yang nggak populer udah daftar. Kalau bayar on the spot mahal soalnya. Oh, mahasiswa ya. Jadi gratis total apa bisa? Enggak, volunteer oke. Kirain financial assistance catch-nya harus jadi volunteer. Iya. Oh, maksudnya iya iya benar. Iya iya. Oh iya iya. Minnesota ya. Iya Minnesota. Di Minnesota jadi Arifnya di mana? Ya kan yang masuk yang ada sedikit lah. Mereka transfer mereka bayangin aja masuk dari ya masa yang masuk jadi
Ya Allah. Ya seriously. Ini pesertanya based on alphabetical order.
Oh,
first
berarti
name.
terakhir. Oh, first name.
First name.
Kirain last name.
Soalnya ada yang nggak punya last name jadi.
ya his legacy lah. Ada mafia-mafianya.
Oke, atau di emailnya sendiri. Ada flash drive. Pada laptop kan? Iya.
Saya udah upload ke email.
Ya peluangnya juga 3 gitu. Peluang 3. Belum ada even if we set that aside,
kirinya ini.
Enggak, saya cuma nggak pakai cuma satu kok.
Cuma satu ya?
Kursornya mana nih? Could you please help me? Mas.
Download aja.
Enggak. Ini kursornya kok. Oh, stop nanti. Ya harus kita submit.
Tapi bukan ini kan?
Bukan. Enggak, ini aja yang mau kita bawa ke ada timernya enggak? Enggak, maksudnya nanti dimunculin timer atau enggak?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Oke.
Welcome to this year's thesis competition. We have three judges here. First one is Dr. Arif Budiman. He, as you guys know, he's a senior scientist at Oregon Genomics. Second one, we have Ariano Fianto. He's an associate director of research at College of Business. And the third one, we have Dr. Hamid Nurrahman. He's an assistant professor at Missouri School of Dentistry and Oral Health at ATSU. Now, for the rules, we have a 5-minute speech. It is time restricted. We have a timekeeper. She's right there, and she will notify you after the 4-minute mark. So you'll know if you have a minute left. And the order of the speech is an alphabetical order. So our contestant, we have 11 contestants today. The first one will be Aula Al-Balad. He is pursuing a Master of Science in Instructional Technology. The second one, we have Azrina, attending Michigan State University. The third one is Ilham Permata. He is pursuing a Master of Science in Petroleum Engineering. The fourth, Lydia Apriliani. She's attending Webster University. The fifth, we have Mariam Karima. She's pursuing Master of Engineering in Energy System. The sixth, Muhammad Rahman. He's pursuing a PhD at Old Dominion University. The seventh, we have Nada Adiba. She's pursuing a Master of Public Health. The eighth, we have Nazira Ahmad Khairi. She's pursuing a PhD in Electrical Engineering. The ninth, we have Pujia Tisari. She's pursuing a Master's at the Ohio State University. The 10th, we have Robi Khalilur Rahman, pursuing a PhD in Political Science. And the last one, Yashinta Nurrahman. She's pursuing a Master in Educational Leadership in Higher Education, sorry. So, I think we should start now, right? Okay. So at first we have Aula Al-Balad. Here you go.
I don't need.
You don't need it?
Oh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. That's one of the example how we reciting Bismillah in pesantren. Actually, there are many ways and many rhythm how to reciting Bismillah. Pesantren is not a new term. I do believe that all of you know and familiar with that Islamic institution. In Indonesia, Before the colonial Dutch and after the independent days, pesantren has contributed significantly. In pesantren, we not only study about the psychology, we not only study about economy, we not only study about the grammar, nahu, saraf, we not only study about tajwid, but also we study about how to interact with human. We study about muamalah, and we also study many things. But unfortunately, since more than 25 years ago until now, the teaching method in pesantren still use face-to-face. There's no internet, there's no technology and modernization. As the result, what do you know? Lack of achievement. Student become unmotivated to study. They came to pesantren because the parent asked them to come to pesantren, not because the awareness, not because of them want to come to pesantren, because they want to learn about the Islam, about the knowledge, about the science. And this is one of the background knowledge how we use ER, augmentation reality and pesantren, especially in Aceh, an exciting way forward education. The question is why ER? There are 4 main reasons to support my study. The first one, accessible. We don't need expensive hardware to use augmentation reality. And the second one, it's work in many devices, Android or iOS and others. And the third one is interactive. So the purpose of study, the purpose of teaching and learning is to deliver knowledge. It's not only to deliver knowledge from the teacher to the student, but how to make the student become, how to make education become meaningful. And ER is one of the way to get that point. And the fourth, but this is not the least, is less expensive. Nowadays, this is pesantren where I'm teaching more than 7 years. Teacher, at least they have 2 smartphones. And the teacher, the students, at least they have 3 smartphones. And I think this is the great potential or resource to implement augmentation reality and pesantren. And also many studies found that using ER in teaching and learning in school is the great way to improve teaching and learning in pesantren. In my study, I found that after using ER in learning, especially about muamalah and also about the tajwid, especially about nahu and saraf, we found that teacher become more motivated to study, teacher, and also at the same time, student become more interactive, and the last, there are many achievements that students got after learning using ER. So in the next future, I strongly believe that by implementation ER in pesantren, the education, especially in pesantren, will become better and better. And I would like to close my statement by saying, bersama santri membangun negeri. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Allah Balad, that was an excellent speech. Next one, we have Azrina. Azrina? Okay.
Let's go to our email, Google first.
Harus login dulu ya?
Iya, login email.
Kelihatan besar.
Nggak bisa, coba buka bentar ke. Aduh, apa sih? Tolong dulu.
Kok nggak bisa?
Coba dulu, bentar ya.
lemesin dulu, lemesin.
Kok nggak bisa?
Oh nggak bisa tuh. Bisa kok.
Tadi bisa Bu.
Coba Azrina.
Gemeteran sih soalnya. Terus
Azrina S.
Kalau Gmail nggak apa-apa.
Tapi ini bukan Gmail ini sih password.
udah. Teh ke.
Iya. Iya. Nggak bisa. Kalau nggak nanti aja.
Slow tenang.
Bisa di
Kamu bantuin.
Easy word.
Ada nggak? Teh ke.
Kalau pakai komputer itu boleh nggak sih?
Boleh, bisa.
Guys, if you have a presentation that you want to present, a PowerPoint, I think you can copy it to her USB, so we have to save some time.
Butuh ini nggak? Butuh.
But if you have your USB, it's fine.
Yeah, if you have a USB, then you can just plug it into the computer.
This is the problem because
Yeah, see?
HDMI-nya lagi.
Oh, ini nggak ada colok.
Ini bisa ke USB, ada bisa USB nggak? USB bisa.
Enggak, tapi ini
Like a kelontong, like a toko kelontong, I don't know, like convenience store. But usually they have like a lot of people who do like that. So basically, a lot of competition. The more lot of competition, the more like they have like there's no profit for there. You know it. And because like they have lack of business skills, which is they don't have the education. That's why they don't know how to make the product good. They don't know how to compete with the people and all the stuff. And the thing is, they don't use the money for other things. So there is like another research for like a Kawan. He's from MIT, and he told that people usually use the money if they got the microfinance. 50% they use it for their company, like they make a product or they selling or like something. But 50% they use it for building their house or buy some food for their life. So basically it's not like 100% they use all the capital or they don't use like 100% for investment, but they use it at 50%. As a result, they cannot have a big profit. But the thing is, usually people think like as long as they can pay the loans, they say it's success. But it's not that a success. We must know how we can do. So my idea, like I want to have like a business training, and I want to give like a learning for them, a mentoring, and teaching how and what they have the problem. I want to help them all the stuff, and usually like we want to have like a camp. So basically it will be like 2 years or maybe 1.5, because like if you just have like training for like 3 days or 3 months, I don't think so. Like people can learn just for 3 years, and we must know, like we must have to evaluate every step, everything, because like if we didn't evaluate, how we can know that this is good or not. So I will use the RCT like randomized control trial, which is like I want to see which one this is the business training is the best approach. Can I use it or not, or which is not good. So basically they have like I will have the population, and 2 times like I will use the Nganjuk and Klaten one, because like probably they have like the same population and they have the same demography. So the Nganjuk one I will give like the approach one, which is I will use the business training. So if this is good, so the business training is good, but if they don't have it, so there is not there. And another one is the Klaten one. So I will just say like just the microfinance. So I just want to compare. One I will use the business training and one is nothing. So we want to compare which one is the best one. So if my approach is not gonna good, so we can see that in the Nganjuk one, they don't improve it, like not improve it. There's nothing on there. But if like the ngajuk one, they have a good one, they have a good impact, which is I use the training business, so my approach will be good, so I will can make it big.
Time is up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for Lydia, that was wonderful. We'll give the judges a few more minutes, and just to remind you guys, it is a 5-minute speech, and she will notify you after the 4-minute mark. And just to say, for the judging criteria, we do have 5 criterias, which is the content, the comprehension, the engagement, and the communications. So those are the criteria. For the next one, we have Mariam Karima. This is the mic if you want.
Silakan.
Oh, benar ya? Start? Okay. Can I have?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mariam. I'm from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Today I would like to present you my research project called Environment. I'm an environment, actually, clean water for all reverse osmosis without electricity. And I'll tell you something. Last year I visited some island in Indonesia, and I find the fact that a lot of island there lack of water access. You know, water is essential, right? And they need to collecting rainwater or travel to other island to get fresh water, and it's expensive, right? You know, and it's unproductive. So, and I realized that, well, water scarcity is problem around the world. I know why. It's, yeah. 3 out of 10 people actually lack access of electricity, of water. Sorry. And then 183 million people also lack of basic drinking water. And this I'm thinking to provide them with reverse osmosis. What is reverse osmosis? It's kind of like membrane to produce fresh water. So you can pour the brackish water, and you can have fresh water from that. It's very simple. But this is the previous solution of that. Typical reverse osmosis require a lot of energy. It's also expensive. It's maybe for 1,000 gallons per day, it will cost you at least $10,000. And high maintenance, not easy to move, not movable. And this is my idea. What is it? Okay, I'm sorry, why, I don't know why it cannot hear it. But the first one, provide fresh water with small capacity. So like every community can have fresh water they can produce. And require low maintenance, and also require low energy. Affordable price, of course, because it's in a rural area or in the middle of like disaster. So we need like a lot. So we need the cheap equipment and easy to move. If you ever imagine if you stand in the middle of the flood and do not have fresh water, so it will be disaster, more disaster, even the flood. So this is my first idea with the solar panel and reverse osmosis. So, but the problem of this is you need a moving part, which is motor. and it will last maybe only 3 years, and it require high maintenance. It will cost you, if we build it from the scratch, maybe $2,500. And okay, I moved to another solution with treadle pump. If Bapak atau Ibu ever use the hand pump in your house, it's very old fashioned. It's kind of like that, but use food to produce pressure and pump the water. But the problem for this is it's not produce enough pressure to the reverse osmosis. So this is my solution. This is not vinyl design, but it's the reverse osmosis powered by weight pump. Actually, I don't know what the name, but I think there is no equipment like this before. So yeah, I just name it weight pump. Basically, it just when you pump here, give a pressure here. When you stand here, you'll produce the pressure as much as your weight. So like if me like 42 kilogram, I'll produce like 92 psi, because in here we have 1 inch pipe. So we use dough film tech membrane, which require 100 psi. So and then the product flow rate is 100 gallon per day, and I'm still designing, prototyping it, but I already have like agreement with the NGO in Indonesia to implement this product. I know it's not like a sophisticated research, but I believe it can benefit people, and I believe it can be my amal jariah. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Mariam. That was a wonderful speech for our solution for clean water for all. Next up, we have Muhammad Rahman. And after Muhammad, we have Nada. This is a Nike.
Slideshow ntar langsung ini. Oh, oke. Jadi kanan kiri ya. Apa? Ini kanan kiri, ini kiri. Kalau mulai ini slide-nya ini. Oke, jadi pertama ini ya. Enggak, ini pertama. Udah on belum? Belum. Sorry. Ini mulai. Sudah. Kanan kiri sama ini pointernya. Oke, siap. Maaf, kanan kiri. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Is that it? Okay. So, microphone, okay. So one thing that we probably you notice when we first time to come to US is insurance is everywhere, right? So okay, health insurance, car insurance, even if you buy through eBay, okay, you can have an insurance on that. The thing that was it probably we not really found it in our Indonesia or Malaysia. Things that actually insurance idea is related to how we respond to what we call it fate or insecurity in the future. So my research actually is about trying to compare the case studies between how Islamic insurance, the politics of Islamic insurance in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Pakistan. So one of the things that why we have a very low insurance in it's not only Indonesia and Malaysia, it's almost an Islamic country, Muslim countries, because of part of it, because the prohibition of the riba. But in 1980, 1979, so we start to have the first Islamic insurance company. The thing that we built, and we have after 36 years, 2016, this data from 2016, with Malaysia on this side very well developed Islamic insurance, and then we have Indonesia over here, and Pakistan is over here. They start the project called Islamization of economy at the same time, 1980. At the same time, also they try to introduce more liberalized economy. But why they receive very different outcome? So this is the main questions that I do in my research, and what make the gap between these countries. And literature say that, okay, this is about the income, inflation, educations, urbanizations, or even like religiosity. But the thing that all these studies mentions miss one big puzzle, that actually the thing that even like incomes develops, those factors, those variables will not sufficient enough when the governments not regulate the instrument itself. They don't introduce as part of their economy, and also the second part is how people respond to the financial service. So two things that actually I'm studying, focusing the variable of the political and the social aspect of the Islamic insurance, and see that how insurance is political product. So when they introduce Islamic insurance, it's not about just financial service, but this is part of the political agreements. And the second, so this is how I see what kind of the political coalition behind the introduction of Islamic insurance in these three countries, and also in the social aspect, how the values, the ethics, the norms of the society actually build up, both in the Islamization policies on the political level, and the economic ethics is more on the community level. And we can see how the Islamic insurance developed. And to make it, so this very abstract word of what is political life, so actually it's a product of politics. Islamic insurance, I found out maybe it is a very simplified term that Malaysia actually, the role, the state as a manager. So as a manager means that they are supportive and become like in the incubator. So provide the necessary environments for the Islamic insurance to develop. And but in terms of Indonesia, the government is more on like a regulator, and then as a provider. Just move on the others, how the policy products. This is the thing that difference how the Islamic insurance in Malaysia is developed, is supported as a national but parallel with other conventional economics. But in Indonesia, rather than as economic tools, this is more political tools, as political accommodation of the identity, a certain expression of religiosity. Then the Pakistan is more like ideological tools, because Islam is part of the ways as a glue to make the society together. And the last thing is about the social life of Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, and how actually Islamic insurance is introduced, how people actually perceive. This is the same service, but it's introduced as a different thing to the society. In Malaysia, people see that Islamic insurance is expression of piety, reliance, care, responsibility, but in Indonesia is more on focusing on the social responsibility.
Time's up.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope my PhD will be as fast as this is.
Amin, amin. Insyaallah, insyaallah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muhammad Rahman. That was wonderful. Next up we have Nada, and after Nada we have Nazira. So they're ready. There's a microphone here.
Where's the mouse? How do I make
Press
it?
slideshow. The left one.
Left one?
Okay. Click on the presentation slide. Just make it active. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So today my thesis is titled Gestational Exposure to Traffic Pollution in the DC metro area, or just DC for short. So the issue is that traffic-related air pollution represents a more harmful representative of air pollution as a whole, primarily because the particles are a lot smaller and they can transfer and move through their body a lot longer and remain and circulate for a longer period of time. Because of this, this can cause things such as gestational diabetes, preeclampsia, low-term birth weight, as well as preterm birth. So the issue that we are trying to get at is to quantify women's exposures to traffic pollution during their daily commutes, with a secondary aim to examine their commute behaviors as well. And we do this using 3 devices and a survey. So our first device is a personal air pollution monitor, or microPEM, and there's actually a filter inside the monitor. So it mimics your breathing and it collects the air around you and it collects all the particles inside the filter. And we weigh the filter and we look at the chemical composition of these particles so we can determine exactly what pollutants that women are exposed to the most. The second device that we use is a data logger, and this attaches to the OBD port in your car. So this collects information such as speed, distance, and location. So we can look at things such as how speed is a measurement of pollution and quantitative amounts of pollution. And the last device we install is a front-facing dashboard camera. This just helps us verify the types of readings that we get. So if there's an odd reading in your pollution, we can go back and verify and say, oh, this woman was driving behind a 18-wheeler truck, or she was stuck in a lot of traffic. And so using these, we're able to determine exactly your commute behavior as well as the amount of pollutants that you're exposed to while you're commuting to work. Our survey just basically helps us collect information that might not have been part of these devices. So we look at things such as your general commuting patterns, your commuting behaviors, and things of that nature. So we're currently in the data collection process, but by the end of the spring semester, we hope to have a paper ready for publication, as well as the findings and some of the key issues. So this study will definitely help with a lot of policy implications regarding maternity leave. So we can say that if women are exposed to higher levels of pollutants, then maybe they should have a more flexible work from home schedule, or maybe they should commute during off-peak times so that they're not exposed to higher amounts of pollutants and therefore damaging and causing more harmful effects to their developing baby. Another related issue that is relevant to our study is that it can regulate a lot of traffic-related pollution. This can be from the car manufacturer aspect, or city and urban development, or even like environmental policy as a whole. And lastly, since we are looking at a criteria of women of childbearing age, there is a lot of extrapolation that can be done in terms of pregnancy, but hopefully in the future, it'll provide us a lot of pertinent information in terms of pregnant women. So this is my thesis. Thank you so much for listening to it.
Thank you, Nada. That was a wonderful speech on traffic pollution. Next up, we have Nazira. After Nazira, we have Pujiati. So.
I have the PDF. How can I make it a full screen?
You got it.
Oh, because it's open on the browser. Okay, you should PDF reader. arrow sign. Still not.
Oh, there you go.
Okay,
It's
okay.
just loading.
It's just loading, yeah. Okay.
High quality.
Hopefully it's good. Okay. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I'm Nazira from Vanderbilt University. So my research is basically about brain, which is I will talk about more than just gray matter and white matter. So I guess everyone have ever heard about gray matter and white matter, or not? So gray matter and white matter are just different kinds of tissue types in our brain. So like here, we have gray matter and white matter. So my study is analyzing the functional MRI, so fMRI, functional magnetic resonance image, which we can see the blood oxygen level in our blood vessels in our brain. So from the fMRI images, we can see different kinds of signal in different position. Different gray matter will produce this kind of graphs, these signals, and gray matter will produce this kind of signals. So using fMRI, we have it will be scanning through the MRI scanner, and we will have lots of images throughout around 5 minutes. So it will produce about 1,000 or 1,200 of images that we can analyze. So what's happening inside our brain throughout that 5 minutes. So from there, what I did is to calculate the correlation between the pixels in the image to find the correlation between one position in our brain and with the other position of our brain. So as you can see on the top right, over there on the left side here, we can see lots of red images, red dots there. It means the brain is highly activated. So that means the high correlation value on the graph there. And also on the right side, there will be like lots of blues and yellows, which mean the low activity in our brain. So from there, I calculate the standard deviation between all the correlation values from there, and as the graphs at the bottom, we can see that if we have the high correlation values over there, I mean lots of high correlation values in our brains, I found that most of the brains are synchronized to each other. And we have low here, and right after the peak, we can see it goes up, means it's trying to disperse and win something else in different parts of our brain. Okay, so if we see from the other lines, we can see it's a low activity brain. So it means it can just do random stuff. So it means the right brain might do something else other than the left brain and something else. Okay, so there are so many things that we can learn from our brain. It's more than just gray and white matter. And for the past 20 years, lots of researchers and scientists have just been studying the gray matter only, not white matter, because the white matter has only very small signals, so they just ignore and focusing on the gray matter. But now, because when I did a study and we found that the white matter has a lot of values and it makes a lot of different study results, so it's actually, we know that white matter has some significance in our brain. So why does Allah create lots of white matters in our brain? We can see lots of white matters in our brain, not just gray matters, right? So in it, Allah says in the Quran, Rabbana khalaqta hadha ma batila. So Allah has created something with purposes, inshallah. Thank you.
so much, Nazira. Next, we have Pujiati.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay. Today I'm going to talk about my big project for Indonesia, especially for teacher in Indonesia. I have one question. Does anyone know teacher community in Indonesia? Like what? PGRI. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe some of you know about teacher community in Indonesia, but sometimes when I ask some people, they don't really know, or maybe they only focus on the urban area. They just focus to the big city. But how teacher in rural area, in remote area, can connect each other? So I want to propose this my big project. I want to bring all of the teacher in Indonesia can connect each other, and then they can know more about the development of STEM education, especially in developed country like in America or Finland. Like you know, most of teacher only know, they only focus teach and teach in the school, but they don't have a chance to get more knowledge, or maybe how they can improve their skill. How they can improve their skill from other people who maybe just pursue the study from overseas. So the interesting thing that I found based on the survey, that when I spread the survey to people in LPDP group, so there are around 200 people who really interested to join this program. So you see, most of them, they really like to know about technology innovation in education. It's around 50%, and then they want to know about creative learning strategy. And the other things is they want to know current issue in STEM education in Indonesia and America. So last month I visit Finland too, and I know how they can create a good quality in their country, because they try to train their teacher force. They try to fix and manage their teacher force. So I believe that if I can create a STEM circle by distance learning for teacher in Indonesia, it can give good impact to teacher in Indonesia. Why using WhatsApp? Because you know, right? WhatsApp really give a good impact for communication, especially using internet. And then I want to build a STEM circle website, so all of teachers can access the information about a lesson plan or some insight or information about how education in America or developed country can work. Because we know that, for example, like me, after I finish my study in America, I feel afraid when I come back to Indonesia, because I have two problems. The first one is how I can teach students with ease in happiness way, and the other one is I have to focus to the national standard, right? So it's always come to my mind. It's really hard to be teacher in Indonesia. I think you have some problem with me too, right? So that's why I want to try to
make connection between teacher in all of the islands, because we live in different islands, and the good thing is to get connected by internet. Okay, thank you.
Thank you from Pujiati. That was an insightful plan on her teaching project. Next up, we have Robi Khalil Rahman. After that, we have last one on Yashinta Rahma. So, Robi.
Langsung yang kiri bawah ya, sekali.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Nish. I'm Robi Khalil Rahman. I'm a first year PhD student in political science at Northwestern University. Here, my study is about the future of political Islam in Indonesia. But when I started the research, we saw the 2 years anniversary of the 212 movement just few weeks ago. So I think why not to combine those two phenomenon. And here I want to argue against the literatures in these two topics. First, the explanations about 212 movement, and also the explanations about the future of political Islam in Indonesia. So the title is 212 as Turkish Delight. This is based on a paper by an Indonesianist comparing the political Islam in Indonesia and Turkey, and he said that in Turkey they became successful, the AKP, and Indonesia they didn't manage to get that much of success, the PKS, for various reasons that I will explain later. So to come to there, I will need to explain about the 212 movement first. So there are already established explanations about how to make sense of this amazing and surprising phenomena from many people. Some say that they are actually anti-nationalist radicals. They are from HTI, or they have affiliated with ISIS, but actually none of that has been proved. Some also say that they are just pawns of oligarchs to play the elite politics in Indonesia against the government. But if we see from the ground, actually there are so many people that came there with their own funding, even walking from different province, even taking the airplane from different island. And also, some also say they are misled Islamists. So their Islamism is only focused on identity and not focused on like the material inequality. But this is just like arguing with someone who doesn't really concern about that. And the last established explanation is emotional-based politicization, which argue that the organizers of the 212 movement exploit the emotional position of the Muslim population to hate, actually basically to hate Ahok and bring him to jail. But all of them actually only focus on the organizers, but it doesn't really explain about the participants themselves. Why do they want to join the movement? Even several rallies, even until 2 years after the initial rally. Here my argument is the role of piety and grievance. Piety in Indonesia is expressed differently across different social classes, and also there are grievance involved in the participation of 212. So 212 is a very complex nature. We can think of it as like a majlis zikir, like majlis Rasulullah based. We can also, and the last one is about Maulid, right? We can also see that as FBI showing their force. We can also think of that as a middle class based, lifestyle based hijrah. And there is also the role of political struggle of the urban poor, which was received a very bad result from Ahok's governorship based on the reclamation and also the eviction. So this is my argument about how people want to join the 212 and the implications on the political Islam. First, my argument is that there is the role of PKS here is underrated because we don't really see them like in the structural positions of the organization. But actually, this is my argument, and it needs to be proved by field research. They are the structure that is most ready to mobilize the people on the ground to be involved in the 212 movement. And then 212 is a tipping point potentially in favor of political Islam because they managed to make the cross-class lines among Indonesian Muslims, and the secular populist, the Jokowi administration, is also already delegitimized. So 212, is it an Indonesia's Turkish delight that we can copy Turkish success? It is a question to be answered later. Thank you.
Thank you so much for Brother Robbie. We'll give a few moments for the judges. Next one, our last one, we have Yashinta. But after this one, we have some door prizes for you guys, so stay tuned. And yeah, for Yashinta.
Can I take this? How to close this?
Kanan, kursornya ke kananin aja.
Where is my figure?
Go unit pointer right and left.
This is?
Next year.
Okay.
You want to use microphone?
Where? Oh, this one.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yasinta Nurahma. I'm a master's student in educational leadership and higher education in Old Dominion University. It is in Norfolk, Virginia. So my studying is about how U.S. higher education systems works. And this one I would like to talk about legal issues in distance learning. Have anyone of you have ever take distance learning program or distance learning course?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you compare it? How do you feel it according to the quality of the distance learning course with the traditional method that you will have your professor in a face-to-face in the classroom? There are some legal issues and distance learning course, and it is should be our concerns to talk about. As my research that I think that distance learning course or program become the profit generators of the U.S. higher education systems works. They mainly produce its distance learning course and program as a profit maker, and it is our duties to criticize, to make it more what is called, to make it more careful before we decided to take a distance learning course or programs.
there are some key points of legal issues in higher education. According to the last decade, there are the massive growth of distance learning courses in the US higher education system. And it gives billions of dollars to the university colleges. And there are some issues, there are some that underlying the distance learning course, especially to protect the consumer students from fraud or scams in distance learning. How we avoid yourself to protect fraud and scams in distance learning. The US government established what it called as an NC-SARA, National Council for State Authorization Reciprocity Agreements. This is kind of regulators who manage the distance learning program in US higher education. So for example, if you are based on a certain states, you can take the distance learning course in another state. And in order to do that, your university should be enrolled in the NC-SARA. And the US government intervened with the distance learning industry to maintain that the students or the consumers give the best education that they should have. This is the laws to regulate the legality of distance learning at the US. The legal issues say if we have some kind of materials or video clips that transfer to the internet, that is legal issues that that should be happens in a distance learning course. When I spent my years in 1.5, I thought that US is a very litigious country. You can shoot anyone or everyone, even though that you can shoot in a company if your rights has already disturbed or if you do not deserve a proper treatment. For example, I saw that, I got 1 minute remaining, it's so fast. I saw that there is law issues, for example, in George Washington University, that some students feel that they do not get the quality of educations like their traditional students have. There are some legal issues in here. This first is the Copyright Act of 1976, when the internet has not been used. And the first is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and then the last one is the TEACH Act, Technology, Education and Copyright Harmonization, that established in 2002. This act is to legalize the audio or video clips as copyrighted works to use in distance learning, and this is how the US government looks like. Okay, and the US government intervention here is tying federal funds. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for this.
Thank you so much to Sister Yashinta. We will announce the winner of the contest tomorrow at the closing ceremony. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. We do have some door prizes now. We have six, right? 6 prizes, ranging from Muktamar apparel to a Kindle. Nice. So
Just to make sure.
It's broken. It's broken now. So which one you want to do from that side first? From that side. Okay. So pick one.
So I have to be here. If the one who we cannot take, the name is not here, we'll redraw it.
I will draw if you don't have the names right here. Pick one.
Okay. Okay, the MC. Okay, MC, get them up first. Okay. So this is for the month from University.
Sponsored by University of Arkansas. Number 13. Number 13 is Mustika Arini.
Mustika Arini.
The next one you can open is
Okay.
Number 11, Mas Boymin.
Oke, istrinya boleh deh, boleh. Oke. Oke, number.
The next one is a lunchbox. Is number 25 is Sabrina Suhartono.
Mana Sabrina Suhartono? Oke, redraw.
Yes.
Oke.
Yeah, okay. Number 24 is Aulina Sutio. Yes? Auliana Sutio.
No. Okay. Next.
Number 20 is Faza Tiandita Himatulu.
Okay, skip.
Okay. Oh, yes, dear. Okay.
Number 22 is Ilham Permata.
Next will be the wireless charging port.
Number 18, Muhammad Sigit Arahman.
Skip.
Okay.
The next one is
Bluetooth speaker.
Aula Albalat.
Oh, jangan.
Last one.
Number 12.
Number 12 is Ilham Dania.
Kalau
Kak Azrina.